What a night. The wind started early and was so steady and intense it made my stomach upset. It was like being blasted with a high pressure water gun until my body was so painfully sore I could not withstand another second. Add to this old sneaky worries and repeating memories that had been tucked away and now had somehow made their way to the surface. I thought, what is the deal with this? I asked, why is this happening? Why are these memories here? Of course, there was an answer, and one that I did not like. We never left. We are part of who you believe yourself to be, and without us, you will no longer know yourself. Well, wasn't that the whole point of change? I have been there and done that, and I've had experiences forced onto me as well. Why would anyone want to carry that with them on a new path forward? We are not showing you anything or asking you to do anything. These are your projections. You choose to do and be who you are or who you are not. The point of change is to embrace all of who you have projected yourself to be. And that includes the warrior you had to be to survive the projections of others. In those moments, the soul who I am mirroring back to you became what it had to become to continue to exist, only in a different form. The form that was always within you and is available to take on all of what is seen as life's challenges. You see, it is not in the doing, it is in the being. Being at peace with all parts, pieces, expressions, emotions, and ultimately projections of who you believe yourself to be. If time were to exist, the time is always now. At the point you awaken to your truest nature and feel gratitude and contentment with the expression of self engaging with the world, you've made it. You have made it back to source, the home you have always yearned for, the place and space where your thoughts, worries, and suffering is absorbed into the ethers, and you are renewed. Renewed, revitalized, rejuvenated. You are excited for a new adventure, projecting a soulful sense of peace and unity within all that is, knowing that everything has, is, and will work out for the highest good of all. Okay, so that's the end of the road for us. I don't have my little chainsaw, my cute little chainsaw. So I'll have to just back up and turn around in a bit, but it's so beautiful out. I think I'm gonna have to get a sweatshirt though because it's actually so cool in here, which is amazing on days where the sun is so hot. But right now, the sun is not that hot, so yeah, you can see right there, crossing the road, and you can hear some trees actually squeaking. It's absolutely beautiful out. It's so funny too that this is happening, that this tree is here, because as you all already heard, I would have played you what I wrote this morning. Last night, today is May the 8th, by the way, 2025, and last night was intense. I don't know if you can hear that. It's like a little bit of it's an interesting sound. Anyway, last night the wind was so crazy intense that it made me sick. It was so intense. And then when I went to sleep, all of these odd dreams and memories and things that I have believed that I had addressed and worked through and faced and moved through and have no real feelings or emotions around it, were all flooding through as if the wind had stirred up all this stuck energy in me. And it was almost like one last look at it. And so I find it fascinating that this stump is here, because that's how it felt. It was like, you're not going forward. You're not making any movement. Not that there is a forward or backward or whatever, but that awareness of growth and progression, of the next, the continuation. It's like, you will stop here, you will pause, you will take it in and acknowledge how far you have come. And I think that's for everyone right now. These geomagnetic storms and all of these things that are happening, and the craziness that we are all experiencing, this is what keeps coming up everywhere. And especially my feelings on it is, we have to go within and we have to balance ourselves. I said it so many times yesterday, center yourself. That you have to do that. And in centering yourself, you have to acknowledge and give yourself credit for how far you've come and how resilient you've been and how creative and inventive you've had to be and how adaptive and flexible and consistent, and especially people who have struggled so much differently than others and have been on the outside of society, because that's how I have felt, is that I've never felt like I fit in. I've always felt like I'm from some other planet somewhere, and still believe that. And it's funny because my brother will say, it was just a joke, when I said that we found you on the doorstep and that you're adopted. And I've actually thought about that. I'm like, okay, is that what this is? But this is a deeper sense. And I've thought about all the experiences I've had, and of course, tons of trauma. Who doesn't have a ton of trauma in their life, and how it shapes our perception of what is. And for sure, I do believe that influences my perception and understanding. And at the same time, I also, this is a knowing. This is a deeper knowing, and I've denied it for far too long, and it will not be denied anymore. And so I feel like that's where we're all at. It's like the in Monopoly, and you do not pass go. Like, you collect $200, but you have to. There's so many times where you do not get to pass go. You pick that card, and nope, you're not. Right? You for sure don't want to get sent to jail. Trust me with that one. And try to figure your way out of that. And that, I think, is when we deny for too long who we actually are. And we resist that. We get stuck inside this mental prison. So here we are at this crazy intensity of energy, and really having to double check. Have we actually acknowledged all parts of ourselves? Do we accept it? And for me, I was like, yeah, I have. For sure I have. And another part of me goes, yeah, have you? Have you? And so it's so curious to me, because I have told many people about this experience, but of course, none of it has been on a public forum, and especially not in any professional capacity, because it would be so limiting to ever imagine having a life back in that world. And yet I don't want a life in that world. And I think most people who have these spiritual awakenings feel the same way. When you have a spiritual awakening, that's the whole point. You are likely burnt out. I don't know anyone right now. I actually don't know anyone who doesn't have some form of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, who doesn't have symptoms of burnout. There's no way. There is no way you can exist in this world and not have these experiences, or have experiences of trauma. Whether or not you've acknowledged them and faced them is another thing. Whether you are trying to escape them through different vices, maybe it's food, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's sex, could be anything, right? Because no one wants to feel those feelings. But those things, those vices, never take you away from your suffering. They take you deeper into it. And that is why you never reach that sense of peace by staying on the outside and trying to medicate yourself somehow. You have to go into it, and you have to be very raw and vulnerable and just accept and surrender. And so I find this to be an amazing time of transformation for the entire world, but especially the collective. The way I see the collective is the people who feel like me, never felt like they belonged. And I don't know obviously everyone's minds and their experiences and things, but especially people who've been labeled neurodivergent, because so much of that is about conformity and compliance, right? The narrative around that. It's needing to, again, pathologize people so that they understand that they're outside of the grouping of the norm. They're outside of the acceptable range of values that are producers and consumers and who drink the Kool-Aid, right? And so I'm happy to be labeled and self-labeling as neurodivergent, because I am a free thinker. I am a soul who has come to this earth to support and encourage others to embrace their true essence of being. And that is the only way out of this illusion of suffering. About this sense of not belonging, and how my experiences of my childhood really contributed, as everyone's childhoods do. And I have no blame. There's no blame, shame. There's nothing in that to serve anyone, to say that, oh, my parents didn't this, or they did that, or, you know, my grandparents this, or someone did this. No. When you're a child, if you're fortunate enough to survive through it, you become an adult, and hopefully you grow and learn, and you understand that there are varying levels and degrees of suffering is not the word, varying and level degrees of experiences that people go through that will literally change the trajectory of their lives. And so I don't remember my life before 10 years old, I can tell you. And I've thought about, okay, what traumatic event happened that made me want to cancel out the first 10 years of my life? What thing, who did what to me? Because that's my job as a parole officer, looking at people's childhoods and their lives and growing up and their associates, and looking at every aspect of their existence to see what fell apart to contribute to their criminal offending, to their going outside of the norm and inflicting harm on someone else, or maybe not following the rules. I have to go a different way. And so looking at that and considering that, what could have happened to me? There's nothing. I remember a few things, like sticking my tongue when I lived in Prince George, which is a very cold environment. It used to be anyway. And my best friend and I were playing outside, and I had to be maybe 8 or 9. And we got so much snow. And we were flipping off of her stairwell that had a railing on it. And I was laughing, and my tongue stuck to the railing, but the rest of me kept flipping. So my tongue stayed behind the top layer, which is really gross and very painful. And it didn't heal for a long time, but I'm talking, that's the memory. One of the memories I have before 10 years old. And 10 years old is so important because that's when I moved to Kamloops into a home my parents bought. And it was a newer home, only a year old. And it was on land that had not been developed, but it used to be like an orchard and tomatoes and like farming kind of thing. And there's like lots of hills and stuff behind us. And anyway, from that moment on, of moving into that house, I had intense experiences. And I would have dreams that were of me being buried under mountains of bodies, some alive, some not alive. And I would have experiences of something coming to my window and taking me through the window, and I could see all above my house and all actually of Kamloops from the sky. And there was no way to explain it, and no one who believed me or understood. So I stopped sharing a lot of those messages, but there were some things where I remember when we were moving into the house that, and I'm bringing this up because this is part of the things that came up in this memories. I remember coming into the house and the owners telling me in the room that I slept in that they had built this brand new house for their family, but that something had happened, and the room I was supposed to be in, that child did not survive. And so then the family started to break down, and then there was a fight in my bedroom between the dad of that child and their brother, and that there was a knife that cut the screen, because there's a cut in my screen. And I still remember this whole conversation. I remember everything about it. And my parents later said that they never ever talked to these people, or that they met them. And that I started to 100%, even as a child, I was like, there is something majorly wrong with me. And so I, again, really tried, because I already didn't feel like I fit in. Now I extra feel like I don't fit in. So my point being, I think there's a lot of people that are the same, and that have worked really hard just like I have, achieving things. I've achieved, I think, so much over the course of my 55 years so far. And yet, here I am, not wanting to really just use those skills, all that training and certifications and all of this knowledge, but I want to use it in a different way. One that includes these other gifts and abilities that I have. And for all the other people out there that are part of the collective of people who also have come back online and are questioning everything in their world and have come to an existential crisis of sorts, I feel you. You're not alone. You're exactly where you need to be, all of us. And that now is the time to start speaking out. Now is the time to be really real with yourself, because if you want to make gains and move forward and away from something that is feeling stuck or heavy or just so unsatisfying, you have to be real and honest. And so here's to us being real and honest and stepping into creating this new world that we're already in, raising the vibration by offering authenticity. And I can't wait. I mean, last night with that wind, it was something. Like, I literally thought that my fence was going to rip off, and my roof. And so I feel for anyone who's been through tornadoes or hurricanes or anything like that. As much as I love that intensity, it feels like Mother Nature is like showing up. I love that. At the same time, it's this attachment to things. So like, I have this attachment to the house that I have been renovating and working on, and the sense of having invested so much time into this thing that doesn't serve me other than to offer me a roof, but it's a lot of stress. Carrying the load and the burden of debt and time spent and your sweat equity. It's a lot, especially in an environment that's so unpredictable. And so it's like recognizing, how do you release that attachment, have a place to live where you can feel safe and secure and offer that to your family as well. But releasing that sense of needing to, basically what I was thinking last night was, I love this Mother Nature, but just please don't rip my roof off. Like, please don't create more challenges for me. I've had enough. I've had enough things happen in this last year that I've orchestrated because I knew that they had to happen, and that I've allowed, and that also I literally, my highest good, my highest self must have been in charge, because there's some shit that I would not have chosen to happen. But it really taught me how to have that release. There's tons of stuff I need to be doing. There's tons of stuff that need my attention, that are screaming for my attention, and guess what? I'm not giving it. I'm not giving my attention. I'm giving my attention where I believe I'm meant to give it, and that is for all of us. Bring it back in. Return to sender anything that does not serve you, and maintain your equilibrium. Equilibrium at all costs, because that's what's going to help us make it through this next part. Because the energy is ramping up, and it's nothing to fear, because we're already living, like I've said before, we are already living in the chaos. So on the other side of chaos, as we know, on the other side of fear, on the other side of all these things, is where we want to be. Okay. So hold tight, center yourself, and 100% know we're in this together. All right. Thanks for popping in. Thanks for paying attention, watching. And I can't wait to see what's next. See you soon. It's like holding on to your old life at all costs. It's all crashed down. And you're like, I got this. I got this. I can lift this back up and no, you can't. Let it fall. Let it be. Let it get absorbed into the forest floor and to be used by other trees and animals as food, as fuel. And start to build your new foundation. One that is just as strong and much more likely it is going to be a stronger foundation that can withstand even more than your old roots could have. Because you don't need to be anchored into an illusion. You get anchored into yourself, and that allows you flexibility and freedom. And the beauty on the other side of that is new growth and new possibilities.